Good evening, everyone. Imagine waking up to the sound of sirens in cities half a world away, explosions lighting up the night sky, families running for cover, and then realizing that every time you fill up your car or buy groceries, the price might jump because of what's happening right now in the Middle East. This is not a movie. This is not a drill. Right now, on this fourth day of open conflict, the United States and Israel are striking deep inside Iran, and Iran is striking back across the entire region. Hundreds are already dead. Oil prices are spiking, stock markets are tumbling, and millions of people, including possibly some of you watching tonight, are wondering, how did we get here so fast? What does this mean for my family, my job, my future? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we're going to walk through every major development step by step with the latest facts from the ground. No hype, no spin, just the truth so you can understand exactly what's happening and why it matters to every corner of the planet. Let's begin. Since Saturday, American and Israeli forces have carried out hundreds, some reports say nearly 2,000 strikes across Iran. They've hit military bases, air defense systems, naval ports, missile factories, and sites linked to Iran's leadership. Footage verified by international broadcasters shows massive explosions in Tehran, Qum, and other cities. Buildings that once housed government offices and cultural centers now lie in ruins. Israeli jets launched what they're calling a fresh, broad wave of attacks just in the last few hours, targeting more infrastructure. The United States has released video of its own strikes destroying Iranian Shahed drone facilities. CENTCOM says they've knocked out large numbers of drones before they could even leave the ground. President Trump told reporters today that most of Iran's military installations have been knocked out and that its Navy and Air Force have been severely damaged. But here's the question that keeps experts up at night. Can any country absorb this kind of pounding and not fight back even harder? We'll get to Iran's response in a moment. First, the human cost. According to the Iranian Red Crescent, at least 787 people have been killed inside Iran since the strikes began. That number is rising hour by hour. One of the most heartbreaking reports came from the city of Minab, where a single strike on a school killed 165 schoolgirls and staff members. Thousands gathered for their funeral today, mourning in the streets. Iranian officials showed foreign journalists destroyed government buildings in Tehran, a diplomatic police center, and a state-owned cultural institute reduced to rubble. On the American side, the Pentagon has now named 4 of the 6 U.S. service members killed so far. All 4 were Army Reserve soldiers, ages 20 to 42, struck by an Iranian drone while stationed at a base in Kuwait. Their families are grieving tonight, and the entire U.S. military is on heightened alert. This isn't just numbers on a screen. These are sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, real people whose lives ended in a flash of fire halfway around the world. And the question every parent is asking right now is, could this conflict pull in even more young men and women? Iran promised retaliation, and it has delivered. In the last 48 hours alone, Iranian missiles and drones have hit targets in at least 11 countries and territories. A drone slammed into a parking area right next to the U.S. consulate in Dubai, sparking a fire that Dubai firefighters quickly contained. Thankfully, all U.S. personnel are safe, but the message was clear. Nowhere American is completely out of reach. Iran also struck the massive Al Udeid air base in Qatar, home to thousands of U.S. troops, as well as sites in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, including what's described as a CIA-linked facility, and other Gulf locations. Debris from missiles has fallen in Doha, and Qatar even reported shooting down Iranian jets that entered its airspace. Meanwhile, Hezbollah in Lebanon has joined the fray, firing rockets into Israel. Israeli forces responded by bombing Beirut suburbs again today, and even sending ground troops across the border into southern Lebanon. One hotel in Hazmiya was hit. At least 31 people have died in Lebanon since Sunday. Think about that for a second. One conflict started between the U.S., Israel, and Iran has already spilled into Lebanon, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and beyond. How far will the fire spread before someone finds a way to stop it? President Trump has been speaking out almost daily. Today he said the U.S. Navy is ready to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. That narrow waterway carries about 20% of the world's oil. He also predicted the operation could last weeks, not years, but added it could go longer if necessary. There's been some confusion in the messaging. Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested the timing was linked to Israeli plans. President Trump pushed back, saying he acted because he believed Iran was about to attack Israel and others, and that he wanted to protect American interests first. In a White House meeting with Germany's chancellor, Trump repeated that without U.S. action, we were going to have a nuclear war. Whether you agree or disagree, these are the words coming directly from the top. And here's another curious question for you. If the goal is to weaken Iran's military, what happens the day after the last bomb falls? Who fills the power vacuum? Iran's system was built to survive the loss of leaders. We've seen that in past decades. Will a new leadership be better or even harder to deal with? Now, let's talk about how this touches you, no matter where you live. Oil prices have surged. Gas prices at the pump are already climbing in many countries. Stock markets took a beating today. Asian shares, including South Korea's Kospi, dropped sharply. European and American indices followed. Economists warn this could push inflation higher and slow global growth. Travel is chaos. Airlines have canceled flights across the Middle East. The U.S. State Department is urging Americans to leave 14 countries in the region by commercial means if possible. Embassies are closing or operating with skeleton staff. Even here in Asia, governments are watching nervously. China and other major powers worry that U.S. attention will shift away from the Pacific. Japan, South Korea, and others that rely heavily on Middle East oil are quietly preparing contingency plans. France has ordered its nuclear-powered aircraft carrier to move from the Baltic Sea into the Mediterranean, a clear signal that Europe is bracing for wider trouble. The UK is reinforcing defenses on Cyprus after drone threats. And it's not just the big powers. Smaller nations across the global south are condemning what they call imperialist aggression. In Africa, fresh violence in South Sudan, with over 169 killed in one recent raid, risks turning into full civil war, and many worry the world's attention is now too distracted to help. In the Americas, the U.S. continues operations against drug trafficking in Ecuador, but even those efforts feel overshadowed by the Middle East firestorm. Every one of these threads is connected. When the Middle East shakes, the whole world feels it. Let me speak plainly. As someone who has covered conflicts from the Gulf War to today, this is moving fast. New footage emerges every hour. Death counts rise, markets swing, and the human stories, the funerals in Iran, the families of fallen American soldiers, the Lebanese children hiding from rockets, remind us that behind every headline is real pain. So here are the questions I want you to keep in mind as you watch the rest of this report and go about your night. Will Iran's retaliation grow even bolder tomorrow? How long can the U.S. and Israel sustain this pace without putting boots on the ground? What will $5 or even $6 gasoline do to your monthly budget? And most important, is there any path to de-escalation? Or are we watching the first chapter of something much larger? We will keep you updated with verified information only. No rumors, no unconfirmed videos, just facts from Red Crescent workers on the ground, Pentagon briefings, eyewitness footage checked by multiple agencies, and statements from the leaders themselves. Because in times like these, the public deserves straight answers. As we close this special broadcast, the situation remains fluid. Strikes continue. Diplomats are scrambling, markets are nervous, and millions of ordinary people, Iranians, Israelis, Americans, Europeans, Asians, are praying for peace. If you just joined us, go back to the beginning of this video. Watch the full breakdown of the strikes, the retaliation, the casualties, the statements, and the global shockwaves. Share it with friends and family who need to understand what's really happening. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss tomorrow's updates, because this story is far from over. I'm your host, and I'll be back with more as soon as there are fresh developments. Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and remember, knowledge is the one thing no missile can destroy. Thank you for watching. Good night.